cheesy right now, but I'm going to get a new logo and a new song and new...
The following program is brought to you by the Internet Broadcasting Organization.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining Mama J Speaks Unlimited from 2 to 3 today. I'm sorry that we are a little bit behind technical difficulties, but our wonderful engineer has got us on track. Thank you very much, Chris.
Absolutely.
Today, we have the Cross Lady here from the local St. Petersburg area. She is known as AnsweredPrayersCross.org nonprofit, The Cross Lady, where she goes to Wings Bookstore to distribute. Distribute. Yes. Thank you. These crosses that are made by many people, and recently I got to experience it at your local
potluck
at your artist studio. Yep. You're a beautiful artist. You're a beautiful person. Welcome, welcome, welcome for this segment.
Well, thank you. I enjoy being here. I'm looking forward to talking to you and talking to everyone else about what we do, where we've been, and where we're going.
Oh, fantastic. I love it. So, everybody, if you want to call in today, the number is 813-639-8255. We do hope that you will take this opportunity to call in and say hello to Elizabeth Bunbury. I got it right. Oh, my goodness. Amazing. I usually chop everyone's name up, so it's part of the initiation.
You got it.
Fantastic. So, you've been doing this now for how long?
6 years.
6 years.
And if you had told me 6 years ago I'd be making crosses or talking about God, I would die laughing because only creepy people do that. And I'm not creepy.
You're the cool chick.
I'm the cool one, yes.
Yeah, you're the way cool chick. Yeah. So 6 years ago, you stumbled upon this, or God placed this upon you. And what was the background that led it to that moment?
Well, when I was graduating college, my degree was in sociology with a minor in art. And I was going to be an art therapist. I was going to go for my MSW to be an art therapist. It didn't work out, and I think it's because I needed to experience life first. My first husband died. My second husband was an incredible businessman, but was a functioning alcoholic, which I didn't realize. And as his disease got better, so did the abuse. And it was verbal and emotional. I used to think if he hit me, that's
would have
abuse.
Been better.
Right. I didn't
because they go away, but the emotional and the verbal, it just stays with you forever.
Yep.
Until you heal it.
And that sometimes, takes a long time.
Exactly.
And I used to go to church on Sundays and saw God in church on Sundays and then would leave and see him next Sunday.
Right.
And February of 2000, my husband came into the room with a gun and was going to shoot me, shoot himself, and shoot the children because he was over his life. He was just so frustrated. And I didn't do anything that night. I curled up in a ball and I waited. I waited for the shot to be fired. I waited for the morning. I didn't grab my children. I didn't run. I didn't do anything. The next morning, I started at Al-Anon, and I started working for this incredible woman. She owns a boutique in St. Pete called Marion's, and she's just this incredible Christian woman. And I started working for her and started at Al-Anon, and both of them were talking about God, and not just on Sunday, but Wednesday and Thursday and Monday.
After the hangover from Sunday. Or Saturday.
But I actually stayed in that marriage 5.5 more years before I got strong enough to get out of it. And then my husband, after many rehabs and jail, stopped drinking, went to crack cocaine.
Oh,
and
harsh.
Yeah. And on the outside, we were one of the families. But as my kids would
Perfect.
say, if you ever walked through the front door, it's a different story.
Right. Jerry Springer's story behind the doors, right?
Yeah. It was, but you know what? We all have a story.
Oh, absolutely.
We all have a journey. And I just didn't know how to tell mine. I was too afraid. So I looked good on the outside, but inside I was dead. Mm-hmm. When my husband finally had left and we'd split up and I was going through divorce, I always thought if I stay healthy, if I get plenty of sleep, and I stay in my prayer time, I would survive it. And I honestly thought my marriage would survive. I thought that a miracle would happen and we would go on happily ever after. That didn't happen, but while going to the gym and staying healthy, I met this man there who we got to be friends, and he was a potter, and my 50th birthday was coming up, and I wanted to give back to all the women that had made a difference in my life because they still had no clue what was going on in my world.
You kept it hidden.
Even my best friend had no idea.
Right.
And so we got talking, and he said, well, come to the studio and see what I do. And so I went, and I'm sitting there watching him throw pots. And if you've ever watched somebody throw pots, it's the most relaxing, peaceful, calming thing you've ever seen. And at this point, my husband's in jail again. I'm running this multi-million-dollar business. I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm dealing with attorneys, subcontractors, contractors. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to support myself and my kids when the divorce is over. I mean, utter chaos.
So you were in the throes of everything, and then this gentleman comes into your life. You have a ghost moment where you're...
They literally, I mean, except I was just sitting in a chair.
Right. You didn't have the sexy man behind you, like, helping you with it.
But same kind of concept. But he rolled out a slab of clay and said, you do just whatever you want. And I walked over to that slab of clay, and the first thing I made was a cross.
Oh.
And like I said, if you told me 6 years ago that I'd be doing this now, I would just die laughing. But because my faith was still in here.
Right.
I never spoke about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. And that slab made 110 crosses. And other artists who'd come into the studio used to look at me and they'd go, you're who and you're what? And you know that many people? And I'd laugh and, of course. And so the night of my birthday party, all 110 crosses are hanging up in my sun porch. And as the women are coming in, I'm telling them, thank you for the phone call. Oh my gosh, when you stopped and had coffee the other day, you wouldn't believe the difference it made.
Right.
Thank you for bringing my kids home from soccer.
And you were handing them your crosses.
No, I wasn't.
No?
I was telling them, you go choose. You'll know the exact right one for you.
Right.
So everybody was going in and they were choosing. And I mean, it was just this energy was coming together. Well, I'd met a woman at the gym 2 weeks prior. Mm-hmm. And I'd invited her to my birthday party. Now, I wouldn't go to a strange person's birthday party.
I go to them all the time.
Oh, well, good. Then you probably... Well...
I'm adventuresome. I'll tell you a story that I went to. Random, people.
See, I do that now. I would never have done it before. But Julie came about 10 o'clock. And by that point, everybody's talking about these crosses.
Right.
And she walks in and somebody tells her, and she walked right over to me, and she said, Elizabeth, I used to be a devout Catholic. Something happened. I'm agnostic. I don't want one of your crosses. And I felt God speak to me for the first time in my life. And he said, sweet child, this is the moment.
See, mysterious ways happens all the time. Well, and if you're at that place where you're receptive to just listening, a message will come through to any of us.
Right. Every one of us.
Every single one of us.
So I told her, I said, that's okay. You don't need to take one, but I'd love to hear your story. So the next day I'm at the gym and I see her and she said, last night, every time I went for a glass of wine, there was this little blue beaten up cross that kept calling my name. So this morning as I'm drinking my coffee, holding that cross and talking to God, I said, obviously you're not agnostic. You've just confused your faith with people.
Right.
So it still took us 3 weeks to get together for dinner, and we did, and she looked at me and she said, Elizabeth, I want what you have. I'm like, really?
I got a lot of stuff go through to get this.
Like, you can have it.
She didn't know what you had been through.
No.
Clearly.
No. And I asked her, I said,
it
what
was
do I have?
a big process.
Yeah. She said, peace.
Mm.
I said, no, I don't have peace. I have God. And so it just started as this slow, people would be going through a tough time. They'd call me. I'd say, come into the studio, work in clay. Because if you give somebody a hunk of clay when they're going through a tough time and say, here, work with this, they don't know what to do.
Right.
But you stamp out a cross, or now we're doing butterflies and hearts and angels, and you just tell them to put their mark on it.
Right.
They can do that.
Yes.
And also when you're
marked a lot of those crosses. That was fun.
It really is. Because the thing is, when you talk to people like this, you think, oh, she looks so beautiful. Oh, I feel fat today. Oh, I wish I had done, do I have something in my teeth? And our minds start going. But when
mind chatter.
Working with your hands.
It's the creative process that comes through.
Right.
And so, last week, I actually experienced the whole process of your potlucks and making the crosses and everything. And I can honestly say I was in a very mood. And yes, that does happen to me, Mama J. Yes. And so once I started working with it, I suddenly totally shifted. I was happy because the creative part of us has to be alive. It has to constantly be integrated into our daily lives, because that is our direct connection to our God self, to our universe, to one another, because then we open up and we're willing to share our stories. We're allowing the wall to come down. We're allowing to let the freak flag show or the quirkiness come out through that creativity. And the fact that you've created this organization and this opportunity for so many people to have an outlet of creativity, that in itself is an amazing blessing. And that's why God put you here.
And I still, you say that, and it still amazes me every day. I wake up going, really? I get to do this again? And to watch where it's come from and to where it's evolving into, I just, and what you're talking about is we do old-fashioned potlucks where...
It's awesome. You get to eat some food and lots of desserts and all kinds of stuff.
Well, what we tell people is you bring a dish to share, a willing heart, and a donation to help defray the costs, and we play in clay. And the thing is that it doesn't matter what you bring to eat, because you bring what you like, and if you don't like anything else, at least you got what you have.
Right. We always bring cheesecake.
Right.
Did you
that was a dessert night. Yeah. There was a lot of dessert that night. We've had those before. We had one night, this first woman who walked in just wept in my arms. I'd only met her once before, and she started telling me about what was going on at home and her life, and so she went on and started working. Then another woman came in dragging, saying, this has been the toughest day. And it was just this whole group of people, and everybody seemed to be going through something. And we were all working together, and probably only 20 of us that night. And it was very quiet, and everybody was working in their own space. And I look over at the food table, and everybody's brought dessert. I'm like, ladies, we know we've got. And of course, none of us are going to eat it because it's dessert. We just provide it. It was so funny. So we sent out for food that night. But you never know. It could be all homemade. It could be all dips and chips. It really doesn't matter. It's the bringing. When you bring the dish, automatically you feel like you belong.
Oh, exactly.
And then whether you work in the clay or you paint the crosses,
or add the mustard seed. Or number them. Nobody really cares. You're just part of something bigger than yourself. Exactly. And that's what's very, very important, that we as a society realize that we are part of a bigger economy, a bigger process.
Right.
And we forget about that when we get all tied up in our societal nonsense and the government nonsense and this and that and everything. So it's very important that we have people like yourself to remind us, no, take a moment, step back. And you're doing your sociology work.
Right.
And you're doing your artwork. So everything you went to college for, you're totally doing right now.
Right. And as we say, we're turning the tables on technology, bringing back the old-fashioned art of communication.
Oh, yes.
because we've gotten
we need that.
We do, because we've gotten between texting and emailing and Facebook, FaceTime, we're losing the ability just to talk to each other.
And have a regular conversation.
Right.
Much like we're having right now.
Dinner's in the car, you're driving the kids from here to there, and you're looking in the back seat. We don't talk to each other anymore.
No.
And when we do share our story, not only does it take the pain and shame away from us,
exactly,
but it allows others to heal. And, you know, we say we're healing the healers, because if you can come in and feel better when you leave, can you imagine how many lives you can impact? Oh,
for sure. And that's why you're now on my show, and why I'm encouraging everybody to go to your website.
Yep.
And also know that she has also written 3 books, and this is her latest one, On the Road. And yes, she really does drive this van. She showed up.
Her name is Gracie.
Yeah. She literally did show up at the studios. It's right outside. This van is right there. It's outside. It's amazing. It's so cool. So if you see this van, it's Elizabeth, and you honk your horn and say, "When's your next potluck? I want to make a cross."
Well, the story of Gracie is pretty funny, because I kept thinking, I need to take this on the road. I'm going to get an RV with a kiln in it and take it on the road.
Oh,
and
you got a mini one?
I kept working that, thinking that's what I was going to do. And one day somebody said to me, "Hey, I've got an RV for sale. You want to use it?" And I thought, I remember all about having to level them and clean the tanks out and dry. And I don't want to do that. But I knew I wanted to take this on the road.
Right.
So one day I received a check in the mail for Gracie. And so I went out and I bought her, but didn't put the logo on, because then everybody would know who I am. And if anybody's ever driven around with a truck with a huge cross on it, but it took me about 4 months. And one day I was in my prayer time. I'm like, "I'm sorry, Lord, I just can't do that. I mean, really?" And he said to me, "But sweet child, my son carried your cross and you won't carry mine."
You got that message, huh?
So I thought, but then everybody.
Well, okay, now that you put it that way, I guess I could probably roll around, sure.
Well, you think about every time you go through a yellow light,
right?
You make a bad turn, you do. I kept thinking, everybody's going to know how I drive. God said, "Really? They're going to watch how you walk."
Yes.
It's not just how you drive. It's how you live. And that's all we're asked to do, is to live our life to the best of our abilities and to love everybody around us.
Exactly. Have self-acceptance within ourselves. So when we learn to forgive whatever we've put through with somebody else, what we put ourselves through, how we've affected somebody else, how we've affected ourselves, and we allow that forgiveness to come through, that's where the real healing starts. And then when other people are sharing their stories, we're not so much going to judge them. We're going to be open to accepting them, because we've forgiven ourselves, and then we're able to offer that forgiveness for them to help them forgive themselves. And it's a total chain reaction.
Right.
And what I find that's very awesome about these crosses, because when I was there, I was making sure that I put my stampings on there. So if people ever got them, they would somewhat know that this had to be a Mama J cross.
Really?
And everything with the certain designs. I didn't put my initials or anything like that, but there's a specific patterns that I used for each cross.
Okay.
So I'm really excited when people get that particular cross that I started with and everything, because I'm putting my intention of love, forgiveness, and healing, and using my Reiki energy on that cross, and just everything, and doing that. It just really did bring such a lightness and a happiness back to me and everything, because I mean, we're all going through something on a daily basis. We're all experiencing a new something where we're not quite comfortable with that aspect of ourselves or that new opportunity, but we have to, like, you know, kind of mold ourselves into it and stuff. So,
and as probably I should have done was brought some of these crosses. That's part 2.
Yeah, that's going to be for next time.
But what you're talking about, so that everybody else understands, is that when you come into the studio, there's clay crosses that are ready to shape and form. And what we ask people to do is, as you're softening the edges, because I tell people it's our edges in life that hurt the most.
Exactly.
So as you're softening the edges on the cross or the butterflies or the hearts, what you're doing is you're thinking about the message that you want to pass forward, on this object.
Right.
Because whatever you're going through, whether it's love, whether it's pain, whether it's joy, sorrow, love, laughter, we've had them all. Right.
Everybody.
Is you leave your mark. Mm-hmm. So the first person comes in and they actually make the cross. Then we fire it for the first time. And then you just get this plain cross that's got nothing to it except a pattern imprinted on it. And we say to people, God created us, but it's our life experiences that add the color.
Right.
So then the next group comes in and they actually put the color to the crosses, and then we glaze them again and fire them again. And then the last...
Do you have pictures? Yay! He put the pictures up!
Well, this is one of our events, one of our potlucks. So then each cross then is finished with a mustard seed. For the mustard seed of faith, you pass forward, and each one's numbered, because the idea is the journey of the cross begins when you get it for the first time.
Oh,
you go onto our website, you register the cross, you say, I got it today for whatever reason. The thing is it might be a cross, but really it's a key to open your heart to listen, because somebody's going to come into your life, start telling you their story, and you're going to go, oh my gosh, I've got something you need, and you're going to give them your cross.
Right.
Hopefully they're going to re-register it, and we're going to watch the healing that happens as these crosses make their way across the world.
Yes.
And in the last 6 years, we've done 20,000 crosses.
Wow.
They've been registered in all 50 states and 18 countries around the world, and every one of them has been made by hand in our studio by someone.
That's amazing. That's like those chain. This is like better than a chain letter, Those chain letters where you send it to somebody, or those dollar chain letters where you supposedly add $1. But this is really tangible and can really make an impact on lives. Like after that night, you let my mother and we chose a cross ourselves. And so I have my cross hanging on my wall in my room and everything. And I've been looking at it lately, and I'm trying to decide who to give it to.
Right.
Because I know I have a sister that's going through a very, very tough time, and she's a single mom up in New York with 3 little ones. And we all suffered a loss the past year and a half, with our father passing away and losing a nephew and, family stuff. But this particular sister of mine, she's really, really having a hard time. And so I want to send it to her to maybe help her to realize she needs to believe in herself again and everything. So,
and I think we're
going to get more of your crosses, because we sent crosses for Christmas as well to family members. So they're awesome.
Well, thank you.
They're awesome gifts.
Every time I think, I go, okay, why am I doing this? Is it really making sense? All of a sudden, somebody somebody tells me a story like that, and all of a sudden I go, oh, well, okay. But really, those sessions are the beginning of where we're going. Really, what the direction we're heading is, there are so many women in this world that right now $100 a week would change their lives. And they may already be working a job, or they're stay-at-home moms and they just need it to help supplement their income. Or we have a couple of women who have cancer that can't work but need the money, that they take our crosses home, and they might be in bed and they're so sick that they can't do anything, but they can be working on a cross, and they find that when they're doing that, when they're painting that, they're forgetting about how bad they feel.
Right.
So this program we're starting, it's called 10 by 6. We'll hire you to work 10 hours a week for $10 an hour for 6 months.
Really? I'm there.
And in
I'm all about
time, well, the thing is that there's nothing, because all the money we raise from our ministry through grants, donations, goes back to supporting the ministry, but to also do random acts of kindness.
Exactly.
Helping with rent, helping with electric bills, helping women survive. Right. Well, when you go to ask somebody to help you pay your electric bill, it's very demoralizing.
Oh, it is. I've been there one too many times.
Right. So instead of that, we're going to say, hey, listen, we know you need it right now, so why don't you come and help us? Mm-hmm. And we're going to hire you for the next 6 months. Maybe you work from home. Maybe you're going to just work in the studio. But during that time, not only are we going to financially help you out, mm-hmm. but as you saw the other night, working together, it builds you up here.
Yeah,
we're
and friendships also.
We're going to encourage you and bring you up. We're going to give you a hand up, not just a handout. And we hope in that 6-month period of time, you've gotten through whatever situation that is, but hopefully your self-esteem has been raised also.
Oh, exactly.
So, because that's what's important. So that's where we are moving into that program. And then also is a lot of people want to give back to their local community, but don't know how.
Oh.
And they say, okay, I want to give to cancer. So they give to Susan G. Corman. Well, she's awesome. It's a great organization for research.
Right.
But here we've got Cheryl, who's going through cancer treatments right now, who doesn't have the gas to get to the treatments.
Right, and she's stuck.
So what we say is if you donate to Answered Prayers Project, 75% of every dollar you donate will go directly to a person locally here in our community.
Wow,
you
that's
tell us
beautiful.
What your passion is, we will find that person, and then we will let you know, oh, you gave us $100? Because 25 goes to administration, but $75 of that might go to Susie for groceries. We will let you know exactly who got your money.
Oh, and so that's fantastic.
Well, our local communities need it.
Absolutely, it does. And there's nothing like that that's out there. Well, and it's synonymous with something that I had conjured up years ago. I'll share that with you after the show, and as we do coffee and stuff like that on other days and everything.
Come back again.
Yeah, hot cocoa and coffee.
No, I swear, what I call it is the Mary effect is happening.
It is.
We are in such a hurting world right now that all of the Marys, God's bringing all the Marys together, and all these incredible, powerful women are all coming together because we're going to heal.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm a total firm believer in that. I was Mary Magdalene in a previous life, and she was my mother, Elizabeth. Or the other Mary.
But it's true. It's so true.
And it's definitely something, even within myself, I'm feeling that he is placing me in a vehicle of which I can reach thousands and millions of people in a totally different way, because like I have shared with people, I spent 15 years working on thousands of bodies, healing people with my hands.
Right.
And now this is my new vehicle to massage hearts, minds, and souls and connect the storytelling to individuals and people and everything. So with what you're doing with the clay, because I have been saying something to my mother for a long time, I need to work in clay. I need to do something where I can work with my hands because I'm a massage therapist.
Right.
And that's how I connect with people. I'm a touchy-feely person. I just love to use my hands and everything. So I would definitely be someone to definitely promote and encourage people to get involved with this, and might see me hanging out in the corner more and more. Hey, you want to hire me now?
Well, the first Tuesday of the month is our women's potluck, so it's only women, because women do react differently and talk differently when they're just among themselves.
Right.
Then the third Wednesday of the month is for men, women, teens on up. You have a lot of people who say, oh, but I want to bring my little kids. It's not an art program. This is not arts and crafts. What it really is the experience spent together.
Right. And it's producing something amazing that will help worldwide.
Right. And I would love to get to the point one day where we say every cross, because every cross is for sale for $10 each, is to be able to say that every cross that's sold is an hour's worth of employment for a woman.
Yes.
So that we can take every bit of that and go right back and
recycle.
Well, reuse our women.
Yeah.
Recycle, reuse, renew, rebirth.
Right, exactly.
And we need to. Everybody, we need to do it locally.
Yes, because the thing of it is, when you go to third world countries, they're having those type of similar programs for women in those third world countries.
Right.
But they manage to ignore that we go through something similar, even though we're advanced and we're industrialized. There is a lot of suppression and repression that still occurs in this country with us women, with our children, even with men.
Right.
It's just very hurtful, and we need to heal one another, because everybody seems to come from the generational societal aspect of an entitlement. No. We have to change that, people. We need to lift each other up, raise one another up, and help one another. There's no more entitlement, because let me tell you, I'm going to go on my soapbox.
Okay,
sorry. Every single race and culture and nationality at some point in history throughout existence of the world has been in these scenarios and these situations. We're no longer to be entitled. We're to help and bring one another up. But that's all, folks. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for sharing your story and what you do and everything. And thank you for joining us. Catch me tonight with Late Enough with Mama J, as I will have J.R. Kennington, an up-and-coming PhD and author. Have a great afternoon. Bye.
This program was brought to you by the Internet Broadcasting Organization, setting the standard for new media broadcasting.